So I wanted to follow up with this vlog. I had posted up a couple of vlogs about God Tier. This is a skirmish-based miniature game. Absolutely fantastic rule set, very dynamic rule set in that lots of ways to win. It's not just about the killy. I mean, it is a dice-based game. You're going to try and kill models, remove models, but there's a lot of synergy for scoring mission points. And the rule structure of it is you're never truly knocked out in a game. There's ways to recruit. There's ways to come back. Turn by turn, you gain points. Very, very dynamic. So what you don't see in God Tier is, which you see in other wargaming systems, I had a bad turn one. For whatever reason, I miscalculated. My opponent brought an Alpha Strike list. I rolled some dice and they were just bad. I mean, sometimes the dice are bad, even if they're a convenient excuse. Or the cards. I didn't get a good hand. It's not good. I tried my best, but just turn one, I lost. What you see in some older rule sets is if you take heavy losses turn one, especially in a skirmish-based game where you have limited models, you're done. You're done. It's over. I mean, we're going to play it out because we have a social contract and I want to have a good time. I'm not going to rob you of your victory. But realistically, and I always play it out to the end because you never know, but in many circumstances with older, more static rule sets, like 40K, you're just kind of done. And some players legitimately build those Alpha Strike lists where I just blast you on turn one because it's you go, I go, and you never really get to recover. So this leads, we talked about how God Tier counters that and doesn't work that way, but that's a lead in to ask you the question as a wargaming enthusiast. Now we're breaking away into kind of Wargaming 101. Whatever wargaming system you are playing in this moment, I want you to ask yourself this question. And this is true X-Wing miniatures. I just got through playing some X-Wing. We do some Chain of Command. We do Battletech. Independent of the system, war games are war games. So this is the question I want to ask for you. Your army, element, armada, list, whatever we're going to call it, do you have enough model mass to suffer losses on the first or second turn of the game and not be completely knocked out? What model mass is, and this is kind of how I'm approaching it, you want to do something in a war game. You have to have a pool of dice. You have to have enough dice to do it. Literally. Well, let's say it's a dice-based game, right? Card games, card mechanics, completely different. And it doesn't matter if it's kind of a D6 or custom type dice or D8 or D10. If I want to remove a unit, if I want to blow up your tank, I need to hit, I need to cause enough damage. Maybe I need to get past your armor. I roll dice, you roll dice, I roll dice, we see what happens. I have to get a certain combination of dice to do that. The bigger my dice pool, literally the more dice I roll, the greater the odds of doing that. Now, at the start of the game, before we've really done anything, that's my dice pool. I mean, if you can visualize this, think about the last game you played, lay out all the units, and put the dice that you would attack with at all ranges. I know there's different ranges. Those are all the possible combos and the biggest dice pools that you can ever have. Every round, turn after that, whatever the terminology is in your game, you're getting weaker and weaker and weaker. You are taking physical model losses and losing that. You're losing those dice. From that perspective, what this means is eventually you get to a point where you have a unit on the table, but it's below mission value. It's not reliably going to do it. If I have 10 infantry, they fire 10 shots each. We're looking at Chain of Command. I've got 10 infantry, not even machine gun teams. I'm going to keep it easy. 10 infantry models. They fire one shot each. I hit on a 4 or higher if I'm in range. To wound you, a 4 or a 5 is shock, which means it rattles the unit. A 6 is a kill. I want those kills. I mean, I'll take the shock because then that kind of pins you, but I want those 6s to remove you. If I have 10 infantry firing, that's a good amount. If I have 3 infantry left, yes, the unit is still there. It's still scoring. It's still in the game. But 3 shots, I'm not going to reliably generate enough dice as a unit to be able to take out what I'm shooting at. Now, what you do then is combine units. I mean, I know most games you can't physically combine units, but if I have a unit of 3 infantry, 2 infantry, and say 4 infantry, I've taken a lot of losses, but somehow they're still in the game. If I maneuver them all close enough together so their field of fire overlaps on a single target, I can do, okay, the 3 first, then whatever the second group was. I already forgot, 2, then the third group, 4. So you can kind of combine these units, but looking at an individual unit, technically it's still on the table, it's still in the game, but it's below that value. So understanding dice pools is vital. Generating dice pools is vital. What you see when you build your list, when you select your units, when you make your armada, you want to be able to ask yourself, based on the weapons, based on the damage I'm going to try and do I have enough dice in there? So maybe I need to take units to pad that a little bit. Maybe I need to take some units so that if I take those losses on turn 1 or 2, for whatever reason, Alpha Strike list, because you're playing an older rule set, you're pulling the Fritz Classic, just charge on turn 1. I mean, look, you can't give me tabletop glory. I'm going to take it. I'm going to take that hill. I'm going to stand up there literally with my miniature with the banner. That's why most of my sergeants in 40K for my Black Templars, they all have a banner, just because I'm going to get up there and plant it on the terrain. Doesn't even have to have mission objectives. You're going to see my banner. Like, I have to go for that. So from that perspective, do you have enough that you can take some losses and still be in the game? It's not always possible with the rule set or certain elements in the game. But by having this model mass, this model efficiency, and having a large enough dice pool, if you have a bad turn 1, either through the dice, poor tactics, or just looking for tabletop glory, you are still in the game and you're not completely knocked out of the game from that perspective.